Hi, this is Sarah from sarayip.com, Facebook, The Numbers Queen, and Instagram, sarayip1111, with another special meditation series chat, this time with the incredible Ian White, who is a naturopath who's been practicing over 40 years, a fifth generation Australian herbalist, and also the founder of the Australian Bushflower Essences. So welcome, Ian.
Hi there, Sarah.
It's a nice looking backdrop you've got there.
Yes, yeah. We've got the Blue Mountains behind us today.
Very, very powerful energy. So, we're just wanting to understand your meditation practice. I was wondering, when did you start meditating in this lifetime?
Um, I was doing a science degree at university,
Yeah.
and it was end of first year, and I went traveling off through Asia, including India. And India was a bit of a watershed. I'd broken up with my girlfriend, had my hair cut off, had an identity crisis. Didn't know where I was going in life, and all these seasoned travelers. So emotionally, I was having a bit of a hard time. And then my body got very bad dysentery. So I came back a bit of a physical, emotional wreck. So I started, trying to rebuild my health and started doing yoga, Tai Chi, got back into the herbal medicine. And at the same time that the man who was teaching me yoga, he also ran some meditation classes.
Yeah.
So that was about a month or two before doing the yoga with him, I'd started doing the Yogananda. No, not Yogananda, Amanda Marga had started doing some free meditation courses. And I think I was in week 2, and then we were doing a mantra, which I'm sure we viewers know, which is repetition of a particular sound. And then they told me it was making a heart connection to the guy who was the head of Ananda Marga. And that felt a bit strange because I never met him, didn't know who he was. And then I found out in week 3 that he was in jail. Wow. And I'm getting a bit worried. And then just before week 4 started, there was the Hilton bombing in Australia, which was quite infamous back in 1977. And a number of the Ananda Margas were arrested for that, although later released. So I decided maybe the Ananda Marga and I would diverge from our spiritual path. And then shortly after that, my yoga teacher, which was like a Zen Buddhist class, started doing that. And been doing, on a daily practice for over a year, and then John, the yoga teacher, had organized a Zen Roshi to come to Australia. It was the first time that a Zen Roshi had come to Australia, and it was an 8-day meditation retreat. So I went and did that. So that was quite exciting. Except as a young man, your thoughts are going onto food and sex most of the time. and I can remember having this incredible pain in my lower abdomen, and the Roshi had said, "Oh, you think about sex a lot?" And said, "Yes." And he said, "Yeah, it's just your prostate. Happens to all young men doing it." So, and then it was such a long day. You'd start at 6, and you're meditating till 8 at night. And just to break it up, you could put your hand up, and the Roshi would come down, had like this wooden sword, and whack you on the shoulders. And it was just a break, have some variation, just sitting still.
I had heard of that practice. You're the first person I've met who's sort of experienced it. But I've read about that in books actually.
Yeah. And then, you'd be given a Zen koan to meditate on and try and contemplate. So really that, and basically after that, it was just really focusing on my third eye, doing a lot, having a stillness. And, for those who know flower essences, I'm a black-eyed constitution remedy, which is always rushing, trying to do too much, get impatient.
That's the black-eyed Susan, right?
Yeah.
Because you said black-eyed, and I went, oh, yeah, no, that was a good
example.
example.
I left out black-eyed Susan. See, that's a black-eyed Susan. I want to abbreviate it in a rush to sort of say everything quickly. I'm actually taking this one at the moment.
Thank you for sharing. That's such a colorful adventure. And roughly, what age were you when that happened, or sort of like roughly how many years ago was that?
I was 20.
Wow. So you've had a long sort of history with meditation in that case.
Well, I was about to say, look, if I'd never meditated, I shudder to think what it'd be like now as a
Yeah.
person. Like it's just sometimes in workshops people say like what's your recommendations,
Mhm.
things you recommend to do, and I would put meditation at the top of that
Wow.
list. And for me, I think getting the communication from all the plants, getting that intuitive sense of them was really heightened from doing meditation. And I think being that black-eyed Susan type and speedy, like I would have been not a very nice person if I've never did meditation. I think we're just so impatient, or being murdered for road rage or something like that,
Gosh.
I'm sure.
Well, I love your honesty. It's really one of your most beautiful qualities, Ian. And look, I believe meditation gives us choices. And sometimes it's only after we've done a period of it that we can see where there was that sliding doors moment where we chose our path perhaps rather than what other people were pushing us to do. And it's
Mm,
almost like something you want to have up your sleeve, isn't it? That presence of mind for those crises points when it's so easy to go 10 steps backwards instead of taking the leap of faith.
absolutely. And I think, you look at the schooling that we do here in Australia, and
Yeah.
children aren't taught to meditate, where if you look at something like Japan, they'll have regular times where they can do meditation. And I think it's one of the things, as you said, that sliding door, getting that intuitive sense, hearing that higher self coming and communicating with you, like helping guide and direct you onto the right path. And I believe that we've got more or less things we've chosen to do this lifetime. If we stray too far from that, we'll get a little prod to get back on track, or if we ignore that, maybe a book will fall in our lap, and ignore that, maybe a nightmare to really jolt us. And
Yeah.
then if that doesn't work, there's that lovely expression, hit by a Mack truck, where
Well, yeah, the expression I think is they send the sign as a feather, a brick, or a Mack truck.
yeah.
Totally. I've had a number of times where I've seen a convoy of Mack trucks a few days in a row, and then something will happen, and I have a bit of a chuckle to myself later on. And yeah, it
Yeah.
always precedes something fairly drastic.
And I think if you meditate, like, you don't have to have as many of the Mack trucks. I think you get more that intuitive sense. You
More
don't need
feathers.
that to sort of really, make you take a big look at your life or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've noticed actually the more and it's also the type of meditation. That's kind of what I liked about your share, Ian. So not all meditation gets you to the same kind of zone of tranquility. And meditation can be used as a way to hypnotize people, actually bring them under the influence of a guru, certain types of gurus and things. And perhaps it's great, that you had that early experience with the Hilton Bomber Group to kind of get you into sort of that really deep Zen Buddhism you talked about, where you were doing really long days, and there's clearly someone who understood young men available.
Yeah. And I think, and if anyone's done a meditation retreat, it's likely they've had a similar experience. After having, you don't have any eye contact, you're not talking to anyone during that time. And when it's over, it's just a incredible bliss. I mean, it's
Yeah.
euphoric type moments that it's like, wow, that was quite amazing. And very fragile. I can remember driving home down the Pacific Highway and feeling like, wow, 30 feels okay, 40 feels a bit too fast after
Yeah.
8 days of just such inner work, and
Amazing.
people are honking, giving me the fingers that go past for being so slow. So yeah, it's and that was before I developed Bush Essence. There's a remedy we've got called the Red Lily, which is really good, that if you do something like a Vipassana or a meditation retreat, that it helps ground you so you can still function the next day or
Yeah,
straight away in,
totally.
in the in the world, that you can have that, but like you can function quite easy, because you do get very sensitive when doing something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate. And I think a lot of people who experienced the lockdowns over the last few years have discovered they're actually quite hypersensitive now. A lot of, even the newspaper I was reading, they talk about people developing telepathy. And there's a lot more people meditating. That's definitely been studied and researched. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing this interview series is there's a huge interest in the different sort of possible techniques to use, because we're in a modern day society now, and it's it's great to talk to people who have a business like yourself, or they're in the middle of life, and what do they use, rather than something from sometimes the books, they can seem a little out of date when society is moving so quickly.
Yeah.
They're a
Look,
good basis,
I think
but it's
anyone,
always nice to get that real life feedback too.
yeah, and anyone who's done meditation, you really notice it if you miss a day. You just feel a little bit more, a little bit out of sorts, just a tiny bit. There's something very tangible that you can tell, oh, I haven't meditated today. And yeah, so it has that balance. And also for work, like sometimes I've been, got a newsletter or something I'm preparing, writing, and you go into meditation. I've been thinking about it before, and just the clarity of, oh, you do this, 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 that, and like the whole image and the big picture comes through, and you think, crikey, if I hadn't had that aha moment, I would have spent hours trying to get to that end point, which you can just get in 20 minutes.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. Yeah, I just was talking to Karen Jacobson, the GPS girl whose voice is in hundreds of millions of phones and devices. And she was saying that, yeah, her meditation practices helped her to produce her albums. And she's up to her, I think, 10th or 11th studio album, which is really prolific, for a singer. So that's a really good point. And I mean, you're similar, Ian, because you just keep creating products. And not everyone does that. Some people just create a few things and they sort of just keep recycling, which is fine as well. But you're a very creative person.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's being a little bit adaptable, like, especially since COVID, not, before I used to spend, say, 5 months a year overseas teaching. So, we thought we can't do that. So we just built a recording studio and to do really high quality broadcasts for all our webinars. So,
Yeah.
and and we have got a new product. We're actually launching tomorrow, which is roll-ons, so it's got 5 different products. We've got 3 of the emergency ones we already use, bush essences. Well, emergency, calm and clear, and woman, which are used as drops and creams and sprays. And we put them into a 10 ml roll-on with organic jojoba oil and all of the essential oil signature for that one. And so yeah, that's something new. And we've also thrown in a focus one for concentration, study, clarity, and our sensuality mist is a roll-on as well. So it's quite exciting when those things come through.
Yeah. I like that because I personally love drops, but yeah, I've noticed not everyone is, open to that way of taking in, help. So it's nice to have things like the mists and the sprays and the pendants and the roll-ons, and I think it sort of caters to people with different sensory needs, and I feel like that's quite a thoughtful approach.
Yeah, and it's such a lovely scent, as well. So you're having that beautiful scent as well as having the impact of what it's doing. So it's good.
Yeah, well, that's probably more my style. I've always I'm a very my nose is very developed, and I just love when things have, I don't know, a bit of a energy to them. So I love, wearing rose oil and flower oils and things. And I think it just connects you back to nature, especially when you can't always get to beautiful flowering gardens, all the time when you're a really busy person. It sort of just reminds you of what makes you happy.
Yeah, I think you just, just even that deep breath in when you're breathing something, it helps to slow you down as well as all the
100%.
feeling uplifted from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you've sort of answered my other questions, which were about sort of who inspired you to meditate and how did you learn. So you've even actually kind of answered my third question, which was what situations has meditation helped you with the most? You're very good at just jumping in there, Ian. Are there any other sort of life situations where, meditation made a lot of difference in your decision making, your ability to recover from a setback, crisis, things like that?
Look, over the years, a couple of times has been there was one spiritual group that I belonged to when I was many years ago, and there were things going on. I felt it's really time to leave.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I, anytime you're in a group, especially if it's got a spiritual nature to it, you learn a lot, and then you reach a plateau, and it's more like a comfort level, and the people, and you have it's very enjoyable socially, and people don't tend to move on. They put the comfy shoes on, and if someone tries to leave, they'll try and make you wrong, and trying, because they don't want people to leave, because it seems as if it in some level undermines what the group is about, or belittling them. So there's a lot of pressure that comes that way, and it's quite agonizing, because sometimes you think, oh, like, is it true? Like this group that I belong to, we used to do exorcism. Sometimes we'd be invited,
Did you
asked.
say exorcisms?
Yeah, we this was based out in the western suburbs of Sydney.
You had a
Like,
wild, fantastic life, Ian.
well, you go there, and sometimes there'd be often the smell like really bad off fish, and seeing things, really horrible things in there, and what's happened to people, and I've seen sometimes people writhing on the floor, hissing like snakes, and you clear that energy out.
Right.
And so when I was leaving this, and once we had this person came, he wasn't part of the group, but he arrived when we were having our weekly meeting, and he had a towel around his groin, and it was all blood everywhere, and he chopped his penis off, because he was getting these messages that like he was really a woman. But whenever you get that message coming through to hurt yourself or hurt others, it's not your higher self. There's usually some energy with that person. And things like that you're coming in
get
contact.
medical treatment?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then afterwards,
that's really
trying to clear him out as well from that spiritual thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
What they were saying was, oh, well, there's a negative spirit with you. That's why you're wanting to leave. And, they can twist all the things you believe in away, trying to make you wrong for wanting to leave. So I think it was really having that really quiet time to meditate, be really still over a number of days to get clear of what I needed to do. And sometimes if there's a lot of emotionally, you're going through a really challenging time, a lot of turmoil in your life, I've always found just to stop, get away from that, and, just, meditate. There could be, or it could be a lot of grief or sadness, or there's a lot of other things, like going on. Just that find that balance and let go of all that stuff going on around you as being good. And I think the first time I had my very first book, I got offered for it to be published by two different sources. One was an international company, one was an Australian company. And, again, I just went and meditated to get clear which was the best way to go and to get that message from the higher self. Ended up going with an international company, which led it to being published in many other languages. So lots of areas where, I found it invaluable, just from what meditation can help you with.
Those are some really powerful stories. And with the spiritual group where then the man came for help, I mean, were you still in your 20s back then, or were you in your 30s by then?
Probably very early 30s at that time.
That's interesting. It's only because, I was going to mention, so we know in numerology, you're a 31/4 heart healer, life path, or empire builder. And we know that at the age of 31, your life path turning points when you brought forwards the essences into the public that we talked about in another video, so precise, your heart's desires being born. And yeah, it's interesting, because it felt to me like that almost felt like part of your turning point, because as you're here to heal your heart, it's like, helping to transform the suffering of ego attachment and that need to almost save or rescue people into this trust. That trust that you could leave and they would be okay, because they have their own protection and destinies. Being able to trust in yourself and your own judgment in these situations. So it's a very powerful share. And of course, the publisher one's interesting, because It's almost like meditation allows us to look at things from that, what is it? From the end result backwards, to reverse engineer,
Mm.
so that the mountain doesn't seem so high to climb. We can sort of see the picnic lunch that we're going to have at the top.
Yeah, nice analogy. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it's easy. Anyone can do it. You don't need to have, it's really very simple process, whatever way you choose to do the meditation. And it's just really that discipline, I think, to set aside that time each day.
May I ask, Ian, we're starting to wind up. What's your personal meditation practice at the moment, if I can inquire?
So, look, it's my preferred time is in the evening before dinner. I don't enjoy meditating in the morning, and usually be around about 20-25 minutes. For me, 20 has always seemed the optimal amount of time. And I'll usually hold different crystals, go in the meditation, be focusing on my, in the center forehead around that third eye.
Yeah.
And just if thoughts just coming in, like, what am I going to do for lunch tomorrow? Or, just that classic thing of imagining like a cloud, seeing it drifting off, and just coming back to that point.
Well, actually, I was at your house once. Remember, we had that really nice dinner that you made, and I still recall you did the 20-minute meditation. There was a number of people there, and I remember struggling so much. It would seem like so easy for everyone else. I'm still working my way up, I'll be honest. I'm still probably more like a 10-minute type meditator, and I often need a guided track. But yeah, I was a beautiful experience, because I don't think I've ever been at someone's house where they've meditated before dinner. So it was really, I always remembered that.
Yeah. And look, some people, they, and again, we can probably see it in their numerology, especially lots of numbers on that physical plane.
Well,
But
I've
for
got
them,
so many ones, Ian. I've
yeah.
3 ones in my date of birth, and I'm an 11. And honestly, I'm a like jitterbug.
Yeah. So for you, maybe, like that walking out in nature or doing a Tai Chi or Qigong, something moving,
Hmm.
For some people, it's more beneficial than maybe just sitting still quietly. But,
Yeah, I found I do well with that combination they use in yoga, of the yoga asanas and then the chanting and then the quiet time. I find I often need to do some shaking meditation or walking or dancing. I've just got a lot of nervous energy, and it's not like other people's. I have just, energy to burn.
yeah.
So I've had to learn a lot more self-compassion with that, and it does take me more time to settle down. But these days, it's not so bad, because with my kids, I've had to sort of just decide to meditate. I'll just have maybe 1 or 2 minutes here and there, and I've learned to just drop in, and that's been quite satisfying. I think all of the meditation I did for the years before motherhood has really paid off, because now I can just do, just
Yeah.
small tune-ins and just keep myself going through this period.
Well, doing that's far more important than not doing it. Absolutely. Whatever time you've got, if you've got 1 minute, 5 minutes, that's far better than not doing anything at all. And the
A
one,
little bit like getting sunlight every day.
exactly. And what I've noticed too is that when you meditate in the same spot, you build up an energy there. And I can remember being in Findhorn, there was the caravan that they've got, that they've been doing meditations in that. It's at set times, I think 9 a.m., 3 p.m. every day. But anyone can go in there, and they ask people not to talk, to respect the silence. So you've had people there for, it's coming up, 60 years now, just going into this location, this small little caravan, and meditating. And when you walk in there, the energy is just like so many people just dedicated to meditation. It's like you just go off on a portal.
Oh,
It's
yeah. I
wonderful.
love that feeling. I get it in certain yoga places, and places, sometimes, types of churches or temples, and I just enjoy it so much. It just makes it so much easier to meditate, having a supportive group, having an environment. I have a spot I meditate just over here, and I do find it's like a ritual. As soon as I lie down there, it just sort of happens so much quicker than if I meditated all over the shop.
Mm.
Sometimes I just have to bring the cushion. meditate on the go. So, starting to finish, do you have any tips for people who really struggle to meditate? I mean, are there some essences? Are there some practices that have helped you? Because you yourself are a Speedy Gonzalez.
Look, in yoga, physical hatha yoga was developed to sort of to still the body so you could go deeper in your meditation. So, maybe, doing some stretching, doing something physical before you go there. Obviously, I think doing it on an empty stomach is better than just straight after eating.
Yep.
And, if you can, if you're able to do it around the same time each day, I just notice like your guides can bring you people very quickly. If they know, okay, you're going to be meditating here, they can bring through someone to be ready for you at that time.
Oh,
But you can't connect if
Yeah.
you're not doing it at the same time. But I think it just makes that communication just a little bit easier as well.
It's a lot like a TV channel where I feel they go, oh, yep, 6 o'clock, time for the evening download. I've definitely noticed that in myself, and I meditate before every reading. And what I've noticed on those times where I don't want to meditate and I think I can just wing it, it's just such a failure. I now remind myself at that point I probably need to do double the meditation because the mind has just decided it is God, and I'm definitely not coming from my heart. So thank you. This has been a very far-reaching and fascinating conversation. How can people follow your work or find your products?
They go to the health food stores. That's where, and they can also go online where we have all the products, all the education, all the webinars and information, videos about the flowers, etc. So, which is ausflowers.com.au, ausflowers.com.au, and yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Ian. It's just been lovely to do another chat with you, and thanks for your friendship and
Thank you. And one thing you did ask me, was there an essence? We've got spiritual ranges, but we've also got a bush essence combination they can get in the health food store called meditation essence, which helps your intuition, opening up the crown, the third eye. So maybe that could be something people could try if they have some difficulties, or even if they don't, if they wanted to see if that could help them go a little bit deeper in their practice.
I've tried that. I found that helped, and I must admit the one that seems to help me, I just thought I'd bring it along, is the Calm and Clear. And I have been known to spray this over my children and when they're screaming in the car. I still remember doing it once with the emergency essence, and the baby went to sleep. It doesn't happen every time, but oh gosh, I was pretty excited when it did. And this one's got Black-Eyed Susan, which is your constitutional remedy, Bottle Brush, which you talk about cleaning out the emotions and the mother connection, Baronia, Bush Fuchsia, Crowea, Jacaranda, Little Flannel Flower, and Pawpaw. Did you want to talk about a couple of those before we wind up? Which ones are?
Sure. The bush fuchsia is really trusting your intuition, giving and allowing and helping you to follow your intuition, because you can get the intuition, but you can ignore it.
Oh, totally.
Invariably,
It's like the breadcrumbs and you just step on them. Oh, it's tragic, actually.
but you know straight away, like sometimes the rational mind, you get a gut feeling and the rational mind says, totally ridiculous, no way. And yet, it could be like you're driving, go this way, and you just got another 5-10 minutes. And then you go the normal way, and then there's a traffic accident or something, you've held up for half an hour. And so bush fuchsia is that really tuning in, but also trusting and following the intuition that you get.
Which is the most important thing. Yeah, hugely important.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And some people, if they're doing a guided meditation, if you're not a visual person, say if you're kinesthetic or auditory, it can be a little bit challenging, really staying focused. And so Baronia helps you stay really focused. On the negative aspect, it's for obsession. The positive one is to keep really focused on the one thing, which is that guided meditation, so you don't go wandering off. And pause for overwhelm. So, to help you just assimilate anything you're getting in meditation.
Well, I love pawpaw as a fruit, and I love the pawpaw trees because I love how they just sort of tower over you, like everything will be okay, and here's some delicious fruit to to eat while you figure out the meaning of life. So, thank you so much for all your beautiful shares today, and I look forward to getting this out to people. And thanks everyone who's watching. I hope that you found this interesting. So I'll be back with some more meditation tips soon. This is Sarah from sarayup.com. Facebook, The Numbers Queen, and Instagram, Sarayup1111 with Ian White. naturopath practicing over 40 years, 5th generation Australian herbalist, and founder of the Australian Bushflower Essences. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.